Now, we turn to the story in the 5th chapter of the Gospel of John. This will show you how beautifully the ancient storytellers told of the two distinct outlooks on this world. One, the limited three-dimensional focus, and the other, the fourth-dimensional focus. This story tells of an impotent man who is quickly healed. Jesus comes to a place called Bethesda, by which definition means the house of 5 porches. On these 5 porches are unnumbered impotent folk, lame, blind, halt, withered, and others. Tradition has it that at certain seasons of the year, an angel would descend and disturb the pool which was near these 5 porches. As the angel disturbed the pool, the first one in was always healed, but only the first one, not the second. Jesus, seeing a man who was lame from his mother's womb, said to him, "Wilt thou be made whole?" John 5:6. The impotent man answered him, "Sir, I have no man, when the water is troubled, to put me into the pool. But while I'm coming, another step down before me." John 5:7. Jesus said unto him, "Rise, take up thy bed, and walk." John 5:8. And immediately the man was made whole, and took up his bed, and walked. And on the same day was the Sabbath. John 5:9. You read this story and you think some strange man who possessed miraculous power suddenly said to the lame man, "Rise and walk." I cannot repeat too often that the story, even when it introduces numberless individualities, takes place within the mind of the individual man. The pool is your consciousness. The angel is an idea, called the messenger of God. Consciousness being God. When you have an idea, you are entertaining an angel. The minute you are conscious of a desire, your pool has been disturbed. Desire disturbs the mind of man. To want something is to be disturbed. The very moment you have an ambition or a clearly defined objective, the pool has been disturbed by the angel, which was the desire. You are told that the first one into the disturbed pool is always healed. My closest companions in this world, my wife and my little girl, are to me, when I address them, second. I must speak to my wife as "you are." I must speak to anyone, no matter how close they are, as "you are." And after that, the third person, "he is." There is only one person in this world with whom I can use the first person present, and that is self. I am. Can be said only of myself. It cannot be said of another. Therefore, when I'm conscious of some desire that I want to be, but seemingly am not, the pool being disturbed, who can get into that pool before me? I alone possess the power of the first person. I am that which I want to be. Except I believe that I am what I want to be, I remain as I formerly was and die in that limitation. In this story, you need no man to put you into the pool as your consciousness is disturbed by desire. All you need to do is to assume that you are already that which formerly you wanted to be, and you are in it, and no man can get in before you. What man can get in before you when you become conscious of being that which you want to be? No one can be before you when you alone possess the power to say, "I am." These are the two outlooks. You are now what your senses would deny. Are you bold enough to assume that you are already that which you want to be? If you dare assume you are already that which your reason and your senses now deny, then you are in the pool, and, unaided by a man, you too will rise and take your couch and walk. You are told it happened on the Sabbath. The Sabbath is only the mystical sense of stillness, when you are unconcerned, when you are not anxious, when you are not looking for results, knowing that signs follow and do not precede. The Sabbath is the day of stillness wherein there is no working. When you're not working to make it so, you are in the Sabbath. When you're not at all concerned about the opinion of others. When you walk as though you were. You cannot raise one finger to make it so. You are in the Sabbath. I cannot be concerned as to how it will be and still say I am conscious of being it. If I am conscious of being free, secure, healthy, and happy, I sustain these states of consciousness without effort or labor on my part. Therefore, I am in the Sabbath, and because it was the Sabbath, he rose and walked. Our next story is from the 4th chapter of the Gospel of John, and it is one you have heard time and time again. Jesus came to the well, and there is a woman called the woman of Samaria, and he said to her, "Give me a drink." John 4:7. Then said the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, ask drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. John 4:9. Jesus answered and said unto her, If thou knewest the gift of God, and who it is that said to thee, Give me to drink, thou would have asked of him, and he would have given thee living water. John 4:10. The woman, seeing that he had nothing in which to draw the water, and knowing the well is too deep, says, Art thou greater than our father Jacob, which gave us the well, and drank thereof himself, and his children, and his cattle? John 4:12. Jesus answered and said unto her, Whosoever drink of this water shall thirst again, but whosoever drink of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. And the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. John 4:13. Then he tells her all concerning herself and asks her to go and call her husband. She answered and said, I have no husband. John 4:17. Jesus said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband, for thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband. John 4:18. The woman, knowing this to be true, goes into the marketplace and tells the other, I have met the Messiah. They ask her, How do you know you have met the Messiah? Because he told me all things I have ever done, she replies. Here is a focus that takes place in the entire past at least, and tells her now concerning the future. Continuing with the story, the disciple comes to Jesus and say, Master, eat. John 4:31. But he said unto them, I have meat to eat that ye not know of. John 4:32. When they speak of a harvest in 4 months, Jesus replies, Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest? Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes, and look on the fields, for they are white, already to harvest. John 4:35. He sees things that people wait 4 months for, or wait 4 years for, and he sees them in a dimensionally larger world, existing now, taking place now. Let us go back to the first part of the story. The woman of Samaria is the 3-dimensional you, and Jesus at the well is the 4th-dimensional you. The argument starts between what you want to be and what reason tells you that you are. The greater you tells you that if you would dare assume you're already what you want to be, you will become it. The lesser you, with its limited focus, tells you why you haven't a bucket, you haven't a rope, and the well is deep. How could you ever reach the depth of this state without the means to that end? You answer and say, if you only knew who asked of you to drink, you would ask of him. If you only knew what in yourself is urging you upon the embodiment of the state you now seek, you will suspend your little sight and let him do it for you. Then he tells you that you have 5 husbands, and you deny it. But he knows far better than you that your 5 senses impregnate you, morning, noon, and night, with their limitations. They tell you what children you will bear tonight, tomorrow, and the days to come. For your 5 senses act like 5 husbands who constantly impregnate your consciousness, which is the great womb of God. And morning, noon, and night, they suggest to you and dictate to you that which you must accept as true. He tells you the one you would like to have for your husband is not your husband. In other words, the 6 has not yet impregnated you. What you would like to be is denied by these 5, and they hold the power. They dictate what you will accept as true. What you would like to accept has not yet penetrated your mind and impregnated your mind with its reality. He whom you call husband is really not your husband. You are not bearing his likeness. To bear his likeness is proof that you are his wife. At least you have known him intimately. You are not bearing the likeness of the 6. You are only bearing the likeness of the 5. Then one turns to me and tells me all that I have ever known. I go back in my mind's eye, and reason tells me that all through my life, I have always accepted the limitations of my senses. I've always looked upon them as a fact, and morning, noon, and night, I have borne witness to this acceptance. Reason tells me I have only known these 5 from the time I was born. Now, I would like to step outside the limitation of my senses, but I have not yet found within myself the courage to assume I am what these 5 would deny I am. So here I remain, conscious of my task, but without the courage to step beyond the limitation of my senses, and that which my reason denies. He tells these, I have meat ye not know of. I am the bread that dropped down from heaven. I am the wine. I know what I want to be, and because I am that bread I feast upon it. I assume that I am, and instead of feasting upon the fact that I am in this room talking to you, and you are listening to me, and that I am in Los Angeles, I feast upon the fact that I am elsewhere, and I walk here as though I were elsewhere. And gradually, I become what I feast upon. Let me give you 2 personal stories. When I was a boy, I lived in a very limited environment in a little island called Barbados. Feed for animal was very scarce and very expensive because we had to import it. I am one in a family of 10 children, and my grandmother lived with us, making 13 at the table. Time and again, I can remember my mother saying to the cook in the early part of the week, I want you to put away 3 ducks for Sunday's dinner. This meant that she would take from the flock in the yard 3 ducks and coop them up in a very small cage and feed them, stuff them morning, noon, and night with corn and all the things she wanted the ducks to feast upon. This was an entirely different diet from what we regularly fed the ducks, because we kept those birds alive by feeding them fish. We kept them alive and fed on fish because fish was very cheap and plentiful. But you could not eat a bird that fed upon fish, not as you and I like a bird. The cook would take 3 ducks, put them in a cage, and for 7 days stuff them with corn, sour milk, and all the things we wanted to taste in the birds. and when they were killed and served for dinner 7 days later, they were luscious, milk-fed, corn-fed birds. But occasionally, the cook forgot to put away the birds, and my father, knowing we were having ducks, and believing that she had carried out the command, did not send anything else for dinner. The 3 fish came to the table. You could not touch those birds, for they were so much the embodiment of what they fed upon. Man is a psychological being, a thinker. It is not what he feeds upon physically, but what he feeds upon mentally that he becomes. We become the embodiment of that which we mentally feed upon. Now those ducks could not be fed corn in the morning and fish in the afternoon and something else at night. It had to be a complete change of diet. In our case, we cannot have a little bit of meditation in the morning, curse at noon, and do something else in the evening. We have to go on a mental diet. For a week, we must completely change our mental food. Whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Philippians 4:8. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. If I could now single out the kind of mental food I want to express within my world and feast upon it, I will become it. Let me tell you why I'm doing what I'm doing today. It was back in 1933 in the city of New York, and my old friend Abdullah, with whom I studied Hebrew for 5 years, was really the beginning of the eating of all my superstitions. When I went to him, I was filled with superstitions. I could not eat meat. I could not eat fish. I could not eat chicken. I could not eat any of these things that were living in the world. I did not drink. I did not smoke. And I was making a tremendous effort to live a celibate life. Abdullah said to me, "I'm not going to tell you you're crazy, Neville. But you are, you know. All these things are stupid." But I could not believe they were stupid. In November 1933, I bade goodbye to my parents in the city of New York as they sailed for Barbados. I had been in this country 12 years with no desire to see Barbados. I was not successful, and I was ashamed to go home to successful members of my family. After 12 years in America, I was a failure in my own eyes. I was in the theater and made money 1 year and spent it the next month. I was not what I would call by their standards, nor by mine, a successful person. Mind you, when I said goodbye to my parents in November, I had no desire to go to Barbados. The ship pulled out, and as I came up the street, something possessed me with a desire to go to Barbados. It was the year 1933. I was unemployed and had no place to go except the little room on 75th Street. I went straight to my old friend Abdullah and said to him, "Ab, the strangest feeling is possessing me. For the first time in 12 years, I want to go to Barbados." "If you want to go, Neville, you have gone," he replied. That was a very strange language to me. I'm in New York on 72nd Street, and he tells me I have gone to Barbados. I said to him, "What do you mean I have gone, Abdullah?" He said, "Do you really want to go?" I answered, "Yes." He said to me, "As you walk through this door now, you are not walking on 72nd Street. You are walking on palm-lined streets, coconut-lined streets. This is Barbados. Do not ask me how you are going to go. You are in Barbados. You do not say how. You are there. Now you walk as though you were there." I went out of his place in a daze. I'm in Barbados. I have no money. I have no job. I'm not even well clothed. Yet I'm in Barbados? He was not the kind of person with whom you would argue, not Abdullah. 2 weeks later, I was no nearer my goal than on the day I first told him I wanted to go to Barbados. I said to him, Ab, I trust you implicitly, but here is one time I cannot see how it is going to work. I have not one penny towards my journey. I began to explain. You know what he did? My old friend Abdullah, with his turban head. As I sat in his living room, he rose from his chair and went towards his study and slammed the door, which was not an invitation to follow him. As he went through the door, he said to me, I have said all that I have to say. On the 3rd of December, I stood before Abdullah and told him again. I was no nearer my trip. He repeated his statement. You are in Barbados. The very last ship sailing from Barbados that would take me there for the reason I wanted to go, which was to be there for Christmas, sailed at noon on December 6th, the old Nerissa. On the morning of December 4th, having no job, having no place to go, I slept late. When I got up, there was an airmail letter from Barbados under my door. As I opened the letter, a little piece of paper flickered to the floor. I picked it up and it was a draft for $50. The letter was from my brother Victor and it read, I'm not asking you to come, Neville. This is a command. We have never had a Christmas when all members of our family were present at the same time. This Christmas, it will be done if you will come. My oldest brother left home before the youngest was born, and then we started to move away from home at different times, so never in the history of our family were we ever all together at the same time. The letter continued, You are not working. I know there is no reason why you cannot come, so you must be here before Christmas. The enclosed $50 is to buy a few shirts or a pair of shoes you may need for your trip. You will not need tips. Use the bar if you are drinking. I will meet the ship and pay all your tips and your incurred expenses. I have cabled Furness, Whitty & Co. in New York City and told them to issue you a ticket when you appear at their office. The $50 is simply to buy some little essentials. You may sign as you want aboard the ship. I will meet it and take care of all obligations. I went down to Furness, Whitty & Co. with my letter and let them read it. They said, We received the cable, Mr. Goddard, but unfortunately, we have not any space left on the December 6th sailing. The only thing available is third class between New York and St. Thomas. When we get to St. Thomas, we have a few passengers who are getting off. You may then ride first class from St. Thomas to Barbados. But between New York and St. Thomas, you must go third class, although you may have the privileges of the first class dining room and walk the decks of the first class. I said, I will take it. I went back to my friend Abdullah on the afternoon of December 4th and said, it worked like a dream. I told him what I had done, thinking he would be happy. Do you know what he said to me? He said, Who told you you are going third class? Did I see you in Barbados, the man you are, going third class? You are in Barbados and you went there first class. I did not have one moment to see him again before I sailed on the noon of December 6th. When I reached the dock with my passport and my papers to get aboard that ship, the agent said to me, We have good news for you, Mr. Goddard. There has been a cancellation and you are going first class. Abdullah taught me the importance of remaining faithful to an idea and not compromising. I wavered, but he remained faithful to the assumption that I was in Barbados and I had traveled first class. This is the end of part 2 of lesson 3. Please remember to like and subscribe and turn on the notification button for the following part of the lesson.